So we're talking to you guys about WAP, yeah? And before I want to break it down, I want to just say this. Can we keep the same energy? Okay, there are so many different layers that come with this song, and the reason why the song blew up and became so such a thing talked about, especially within the black community. I really want to dive into. Yes, we talk about the Kylie situation. We want to talk about obviously the hypersexualization of music currently at the moment, especially with the female genre. But I really want to talk. I really want to go into depth and bring it from another perspective for you guys to understand why we're here. Okay, now I'm going to put this analogy. When you plant a seed into the ground and you water it, what are you expecting that seed to do? You're expecting that seed to what? Germinate, okay? And when that seed begins to germinate, whatever that fruit, whatever the seed was of a particular fruit or whatever, vegetable, whatever it was, then that seed will begin to grow into what you've plugged into the ground, okay? What we're seeing of this music industry is a manifestation of a seed that's been planted years and years and years ago. I can take you back to the early, let's say 2000s, right? Who remembers the whole Nelly song Tip Drill? Because I remember this song when I was in 2000. I would have been what, 9? But this song would have come out a little bit. It would have been more popular maybe in 2001, 2002 for us in UK. And I remember when this song came out because I remember a channel called Channel U, right? And it used to be called Channel XXU, where all the late night songs that would come out that are very sexual. Okay, this is probably the first time I probably saw some pee. You know what I'm saying? Like I saw a Libya. You know, I saw some lips of a female secret garden. Do you know what I'm saying? And that song in itself, I used to watch it over and over again at night time, like, whoa, what's going on? Whoa, is that things, yeah? Yeah, I get excited watching that thing. Who was doing that song? Because it wasn't women. It was men doing it. It was Nelly doing it, exploiting women on his video. Now, at this point, yes, people might have had arguments, and there was a whole controversy around Nelly's song, which was about the fact that obviously, he went to Spelman, I think it was a college or whatever, and women stood up to him, and he was trying to come and deliver a leukemia conversation, which he's still not forgiven Spelman College for after these years. But there was an important conversation that was in that, which is that how did that song get to a point, or how did the society allow a song like Tip Drill to exist in 2000? Where you have young, whatever you want to call it, black women in the song, okay, twerking for their life, okay, not only twerking, showing parts of their body, breast, the female garden, you know what I'm saying? People are taking credit cards and swiping down somebody's butt cheeks, you know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of things going on in that video, okay? Yeah, he brought the strip club into the music scene. Here's the truth about the WAP song. Okay, that I'm going to put as a point number 1. The reason why a lot of people are making noise is because, I'm going to say, especially men are making noise, and women are making noise because a lot of times they also are internalizing misogyny that men have given to them. I'm going to break it down for you for real, right? But one of the reasons why that a lot of people are talking about this song is because what they're singing now, it's not men doing it, it's women. And this is why I said about seed. What you're seeing now is a manifestation of what you gave to them. I always say this, that when God made woman, yeah, he made her with the ability to multiply. Well, you gave her a whole industry where she was oppressed, abused, yeah, taken advantage of, sexualized, hypersexualized, all right? And now she's giving it back to you. You said you was cool with that, Tip Drill and them things there, yeah? You was cool with that. You're cool with Pretty Ricky when he says, I want to get you wet. You're cool with that, right? Yeah, you call that kind of music, right? You was cool with a whole 90s industry where it was all about sex, but you said it in a euphemism. Oh, sorry, so you said in a how do you call it? An innuendo kind of form. You were all cool with that. You were all good with them talking about sex, talking about sexualizing women, talking about how they sex women, talking about women that they're bees and hoes. You were happy with that. You weren't speaking then, right? And then that has now manifested into this that we're seeing WAP. Why? Because what you gave them, they've multiplied. And now the problem is you can't control it. And when I say you, I am talking specifically to men. All right? Because I saw a lot of men that were arguing, especially on Twitter and and they were angry. Here's the problem we're seeing right now. That now, and I've noticed this about life in general, that when men do something, it's almost like, oh, it's become normal now, so we just have to let it go. And then as soon as women then reply, for instance, when men are cheaters, right? And then it's like, well, men do cheat. And when women cheat, the whole world has to shut down. Like, the whole world has to shut down. A man kills a woman. See, da da da. Yeah, well, you know, men are violent. Woman kills a man. Oh my God, look at this. Da da da. Suddenly, you see, so you start to see that whenever women try to do, or whenever a woman act or do things that men have done, the world shuts down. The reason why is because men are used to a form of entitlement. We are used to it, yeah? We're, like, even me, I'm undoing my misogyny and I'm undoing my sexism every single day. Why? Because I've been indoctrinated from birth with a form of entitlement through media, through TV, through just life in general, that I know that I have this form of entitlement. And it comes through my ideas, my thoughts, the way I perceive women, the way I can even talk to women, etc., etc. You have to undo it consciously every single day. Even as a Christian, you've got to undo it. In fact, in Christianity, there's a lot of misogyny. I was not saying misogyny, a lot of sexism, right? That exists, right? Just like I said about racism, okay? It's something that you have to consciously undo, right? A lot of people have a lot of racist ideas and they don't even realize until they meet black people, and we have to start undoing. It's the very little things, and it's what we're seeing right now, especially with the WAP situation, How is it we're blaming these women for a whole generation of children that are going to be kids that are going to grow up to be prostitutes, sexually liberated, sexually free? We've had a whole 90s, bruv. We've had a whole 90s of sexual music, bro. Like, them kids are now these kids. And the kids are going to be this, like, fam, where was the energy then? Where was the energy for I want to lick you up and down till you stay stuck? Where was the energy for that song? Where was the energy for Pretty Ricky? Like, fam, like, where is that energy? We don't see it. Why don't we see that energy? Because the truth of the matter is, now the situation has changed. It's not men doing it, it's women doing it. And not only are they doing it, they're excluding men in it. When I watch these videos, for instance, when I watch things like, when I say watch, I've done some research around it. When I saw things like City Girls, Nicki Minaj, when I see things like Meg The Stallion, etc. Like, for instance, the WAP song itself, there are no men involved. I watched another song with City Girls, I think it was, I can't remember what it was called or whatever. There was no men in that video either, right? It was just women enjoying themselves. Job song by City Girls. There's no men in it. It's just the few gay guys, whatever. But it was just women and the gay guys. That was it, right? We've been excluded. Whereas what we see with the 90s going into the 2000s, etc., is, especially, and even before that, is that men exploiting women. And the exploitation was termed vixen. You're a video vixen. Right? And so what you saw was that men were exploiting women. Now when women are now doing the same, where they're owning, and I'm not, again, this is not me agreeing, I'm just trying to show you what's going on. But when you see women now owning and owning their sexuality, there's a problem for men. Why? Because suddenly you no longer have power. You no longer have a say-so. So for instance, and we're going to talk about this as well, about colorism and everything like that. But you see that now, like, for instance, you see this form of entitlement very simply. When you go to the club, yeah, and even me, I've said this before, and I'm like, and I didn't realize the sexism and the misogyny that comes through what I'm saying, right? Because I've been used to a form of entitlement, right? When I used to go clubbing, I used to say to myself, hold on, you're a girl, come into the club with a 3 or 4 year old gal, and you're out here twerking in the corner. Of course, I mean, I'm not going to approach, because, I might approach, but if you say no, I'm going to walk away, it's fine. But if a man approaches and you're getting vexed about that, I'm like, bro, why are you getting vexed? You were twerking. What do you expect going to happen? Right there is the problem. Nobody has the right to just go up and just do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially if you're not even asking. A lot of times when we were in a club, we weren't asking. We were just getting behind the gal. You understand? So if she gets annoyed about the fact that you just come up behind her, there's a reason for her to get annoyed. Why? If a man came up to me, started whining me in the club, trying to whine me in the club without asking, are you dumb? We're going to have a fight. Why? Because I'm not that way inclined, my nog. You understand? Then you suddenly realize about your entitlement. Then you suddenly realize that you've got a form of entitlement. Then you suddenly realize that you want to do things when you want to do it. Right? But you don't do the same thing for the woman. You think it's natural for me to go in a club and then grab a gal, not ask questions, and just grab her and just do you know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, there's other instances where, you meet eye to eye, y'all get closer. I would call that as a form of consent, because both people are agreeing. You're getting closer, you know what it is, you're getting closer, and as you're going to whine. Alright, cool. But there's a lot of times where man just go behind the gal, she's never seen the guy, straight behind him, whining it. Right? And I'm saying to you, like, when was in the clubbing scene, and man would get angry about a girl that's just twerking away, in the club, and she doesn't want no man. Man, I'm like, why is she doing that for, blood? Obviously, she's begging for attention. No, she just wants to be with her girls tonight and just chill with her girls. Leave her alone, blood. You understand? You see, and then that's what I'm talking about. Where you see when I'm seeing like things like Meg The Stallion and Cardi B song. There's no men involved. They are talking about they want some D. They want some D. You know what I'm saying? They got it. They saying that they're swimming. They're ready for the man to take it on. Do you understand? But it's between them and what they feeling. You understand? And now men are vexed because it's like, this is trash. This is raunchy. It wasn't trash and raunchy when you had Keith Sweat doing this thing. It weren't trashy and things when I said Plies from Ricky was doing this thing. It weren't trashy then. It ain't trashy when Juicy J is singing songs about, slapping my knob. It's not trashy then, is it? That's what I'm talking about. That inequality of thought is where I'm having a problem, yeah? Because a lot of you guys will treat your sons different to even how you treat your daughters. You've already started the process of planting a seed in a man's head of entitlement and then disrespecting your daughter already. But the moment that you treat them differently, is the moment that you started already creating this inequality in the way that you see them, right? And that even condemns you, because actually you're actually saying that I know the way the world is, and I know that a woman should be prestigious, but then I won't train my son to respect that virtue, that virtuousness. No. I expect my daughter to be virtuous, but I won't train my son to be virtuous. How does that work? So then now when you come in to see the WAP video, you're vexed at Meg The Stallion and Cardi B for doing their thing and being sexualized. But the truth of the matter is, what did you teach them? The truth of the matter is, when you had a whole 90s and 2000s and 2010s, what were you teaching them? What seeds were you planting? You weren't planting the right seeds. What men were there trying to put... You see, the whole industry was suffering at a point because all that men were talking about was sex, bees, hoes, getting their nuts sucked off, having sex. You know what I'm saying? You were planting the seed and now you're reaping what you sowed. So when I'm looking at Meg The Stallion, I'm looking at Cardi B, I'm looking at what is it that men have done to contribute to this. Since men are the leaders of a patriarchy, you are the leaders. You hold the parameters of how people can exist. Therefore, if that is the case, then you are the contributor to what you're seeing right now. You have fed a narrative that the sexualization sells. So therefore, women have done what? They've offered a product and a service that sells. How? Through the means that you said, sex. You told them that we sell sex through our music. Okay, I'm talking about black folk specifically. You told them obviously through your music that you sell sex, and now they're showing you that I can produce this product and service. I don't need you to do it anymore. I don't need you to exploit me. I'm going to exploit myself, if you want to call it that. I'm going to showcase myself, and I'm going to show you the product and the service. But now we're angry. Why? Because we're no longer in control of the narrative. We're not able to turn it on and off whenever we feel like. Now the person's taking control of it. Now we're angry about it. That's one aspect that I wanted to deal with that I didn't feel was very, very fair. And I want to break down the word misogyny and sexism so you get an idea of where we're going in this conversation. You guys know I like to break things down and talk about things in a realist format. Let's talk about misogyny. It is a hatred, a dislike, or a contempt for or prejudice against women or girls. It enforces sexism by punishing those who they reckon are inferior, inferior status, and rewarding those who accept the inferior status. It's a feeling of hating women or belief that men are much better than women. Physical intimidation, abuse, sexual harassment, rape, social shunning, and ostracization, ostracism is a part of the manifestations of misogyny. Then there's sexism. Sexism is a prejudice or a discrimination based upon a person's sex or gender, and it's linked to stereotypes and gender roles about superiority of one's sex over other. All right. And the question I'm asking myself right now is: do we dislike WAP because we hate women having anything in this life and having control over it and having power over their own destiny, or do we hate it because we disagree with the message that they're sending? Now, I disagree with the message that they're sending. I do. I don't like the message they're sending. But then, if I'm condemning them, I've got to condemn a whole lot of music. I've got to go next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And so, therefore, I do condemn the whole rest 10, 30, 30, 40 years, 50, 60, 100. I condemn the whole of music from the start. Because so long as an industry is controlled by Satan, you'll always get music which is contrary to what God is requiring. Do you understand? You'll always get music that's contravening to what God has required as a standard. My question to those who are viewers who are saying they don't like WAP is to ask you, are you consistent? Are you keeping the same energy? Are you able to say you dislike WAP but dislike other songs as well? Or are you saying you still got your favourite playlist of 90s R&B, R. Kelly thems? Okay, maybe not R. Kelly because everybody's cancelling R. Kelly now. H-Town, you understand, yeah? Them things there, Keith Sweat's things there, yeah? Yeah? Bell with the Bulls. No, but like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, are we going to cancel these kind of songs? Little Kim was explicit in one of her songs. I can't remember what she was called. Little Kim was explicit. Are we cancelling Little Kim? Like, are you also saying Little Kim is part of the reason for the generation of kids have grown up the way they've grown up? Like, let's keep it consistent. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's not pick and choose when we feel like something, yeah? And, I get the reason why people are a little bit frustrated or not liking the WAP song because the lyrics are explicit, right? But like I said, then keep the same energy because I've listened to Plies, Trey songs. There is, like I said, I'll put the keys already there. Nelly for Tip Drill. There are so many different songs out there. I'm only mentioning a few. Juicy J. There's so many different songs. You know what I'm saying? That contribute towards this narrative that we're being fed now. By WAP as well. So I want to talk about obviously a little bit more as well about the double standard here as well, and talk about also the depth of colorism also coming into it, because there was also another outside of this argument, which was that that black women and I will say this, black women, dark skinned women especially, are then getting added to the conversation of being part of the reason why these young kids are being influenced, etc. But when you watch the WAP video, let's keep it 100. Let's look at the video, right? When you look at the video, if you go and watch it, if you've watched it, don't want to watch it, that's fine, I understand. When I watch the video, I'm seeing a hell of a lot of light-skinned people in this video, compared to City Girls, video where it was it City Girl Summer or whatever it was with Cardi B, whatever, like, there was a hell of a lot of dark-skinned women in that video, twerking around, Nobody said a thing. Nobody opened their mouth, blood. In fact, what I did see from that City Girls video with Cardi B was, on Twitter, there was a whole, I remember City Girl Summer or whatever, hashtag or whatever going around, right? And again, this is what I'm talking about. Obviously, I'm talking about the misogyny, I'm talking about the sexism again coming through into why we hate WAP, and actually the truthfulness of why we really hate WAP. There was a hashtag about City Girl Summer, etc. And the men on Twitter got vexed about the fact that women are having City Girl Summer. But bear in mind, City Girl Summer was not about girls going out and sleeping with man and doing whatever they were doing. It was actually more about us girls going to have our own party, do our own thing, and enjoy ourselves without the problematic men being involved, right? We're going to twerk in our own space. And the men took it as city boys then. We're going to go and break girls' hearts. How? How have you done? Well, you see, misogyny is so like it stirs itself out, and a lot of us men don't even realize. So when I saw the comment, when I saw men tweeting that, the whole point is that when you begin to get into spaces, you do begin to assimilate into the society that's around you. And so what I'm saying here is that, is it possible that a lot of women who even didn't like WAP as well, and I'm not saying you have to like WAP, please, I'm trying to let you understand something. The reasoning for your dislike of WAP, what is it? What is the dislike in there? Is it because you've internalized some of the misogyny that you've been experiencing around you with other men, right? And that's the question I'm asking. So yeah, I mean, to go on further as well, I know that Meg The Stallion obviously made a point about the fact that the way that men are condemning her, and women too, in her particular song, they're not giving the same energy to Juicy J. And he put a song out called Slob the Knob. And I was like, bro, when you look at the lyrics of Slob the Knob, you're like, blood, my man's saying the same things, blood. Yeah? This is what I'm trying to say to you, like, you have to keep the same energy. But when you don't keep the same energy, you have to ask the question, why are you not keeping the same energy? More than likely, it's because there is something at play that is not allowing you to keep the same energy. Something that you think, something that you've internalized, something that you've been told, something that you hold as a belief, right? Or a prejudice even, that could potentially be influencing the reason why you don't keep the same energy, right? And so when I look at the situation here as well, I looked at as well that, I always say sometimes that there's pockets of black men that don't want change, they just want power, right? What does that mean? It means that they're not angry at WAP, they're angry at the fact that women have their own space to do whatever they want without them. Another thing is obviously the fact that, they were spoken about as being raunchy, but the fact that that black men are not holding other black males accountable, right? So, for instance, when we're talking about, obviously, like I said, I made the example about Nelly 2000, talking about Tip Drill, we don't hear the condemnation of that song. So, how is it that black men now have an opinion on Meg The Stallion and Cardi B? The truth of the matter is, a lot of men are cowards. What do I mean by that? You can't, and the word coward here means that you cower away. You fail to address your own gender because you're scared of their own opinion. You don't want to be isolated. You don't want to be alienated from the societal group. This is what we call conformity. The way that men work, okay, is that when we conform to an ideology, we don't want to be kicked out of a group. We like to keep that consensus. That's why we're able to submit easy as well. We like to be able to be stress-free, okay? And so when there's an idea that we don't agree with, we assimilate to the group's conformation. It's called social influence and stuff like that. But when we're talking with conformity, a men will internalize, and there's two thoughts. So they can internalize and agree just because they're in the group, or they can actually privatize the information and actually take it on as their own thought process, right? And so here we're seeing that a lot of men will take in the thought process of the group and then agree, but not check other men when they're doing the same thing because they don't want to be cast out from the group that they're in. No, I can't afford to say anything because obviously that's my man's, you know what I'm saying? That's my guy, and I don't want to be alienated because it could happen to me. A lot of times men don't say something because it could happen to me. I could say the same thing and it could happen to me. I could do the same thing, it could happen to me. The plausibility of the fact that it could happen to me stops a lot of men from talking and saying the absolute truth. Yeah? So that's why I said, do black men want change or do they want power? Now, if you want change, black men, you are part of the process. You are a part of the process. Like I said, when we saw the marching forward, especially during Black Lives Matter, we saw a lot of black women on the front line. And the men, where were they? They were there, but it was a lot more black women leading the charge, leading the front. And the reason why is because oftentimes black men have, and I'm going to go back further now, right, to explain this, in order to understand this. During slavery period of time, okay, the part where we were enslaved, okay, transatlantic slavery, okay. Now, what happened is the way that they separated a black male and a black female is important. The black woman and the black male were both on the plantation field. Here's also another issue because we're going to talk about Cardi B in a second. But the black woman on the plantation field was raped, pillaged, was taken advantage of by the white male, okay? There was a lot of that going on, and the black male was subjected to doing nothing. You can't do nothing. If you do, you also be raped, or we'll kill you, or we'll burn off you, or we'll cut your dick off, we'll do something to you that will terrorize you, okay? That will make sure you know that you never, ever, 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 ever in your life do what you did to challenge authority, right? So over the years, men have been emasculated, or I should say, stripped of power, all right? And it mentally affects you as the generations go on because you pass on that information genetically. They said obviously there's trauma that's passed through the cells, so this thing is passed on and on and on, right? Cool. Not only that, then obviously the black man was told to work in the field. The black woman was also told in the field. The white woman wasn't told to walk in the field. She was told to work in that. She was made to be a wife and work in a house. Yet somehow she had to visualize seeing the violent behavior of a man raping a black woman. So no matter even if it's rape, whatever you call it, to see your own husband sex another woman, a black one who he considers to be lesser than him and to be a beast, makes no sense in your head. So therefore now the white woman then begins to mistreat the black woman because now she's seeing that the black woman's now potentially could be pregnant or is getting sex from her husband, and there's a jealousy and an envy there, right? And so you hear some stories like obviously a white woman getting pregnant at the same time as black women to make sure that the black woman will look after her own child, will look after the white baby's child, right? All of this was all to kind of damage the mindset and to break the mind of the black male and the black woman. Here's the thing though, males naturally want to have equality. Males want to, especially if you're males in general just want to have that form of camaraderie and want to have that equal footing. Yeah, as males, that's how we are. We want the camaraderie, we want to be together, we want to have that equal footing. The black male's equal footing is to be equal to the white male, right? But how do you do that? We do that by internalizing. Remember I told you about internalization. Internalizing. So you internalize the thought process and the mindsets and stuff like that in order to assimilate in that society. And then that's where hate comes in. That's where misogyny comes in and I'll call it misogynist colorism comes in, because then you begin to hate your own kind, right? Your own colorist force. And now you want to choose lighter skinned women because you see that the black woman represents everything you hate about the fact that your past generations of situation, what it meant. You marrying a black woman meant that you were destined and doomed for the field. You were destined and doomed for slavery. So some people make this choice where they've internalized information to go against the grain. Now, some might say, well, black women ain't doing the same thing. Yeah, well, because the mindset of a man and woman is completely different. So I'm not agreeing with black males doing this. I'm just letting you know the kind of thought process. So now you're seeing these black women who then later on get hypersexualized. Do you know that they used to fetishize these black women? As much as they raped them and slept with them, there was also a fetish from white people. And I'm saying white people because that's what they termed it as, and that's a Caucasoid. They fetishized the black woman. They hypersexualized her. Yeah, that's why we had Sarah Bartman, Sarah Bartman, who had a voluptuous body, right? And she was put into almost like a human zoo. Why? Because again, the hypersexualization. Right? And so you can see this has been going on for a very long time. Now, in the music industry, when you see men having video vixens, it is inverse, or should I say, it is the black male trying to do, as much as they get girls, don't get it twisted, it is the same process happening again, just that the white man has been left to the side and the black man is doing exactly what the white man was doing, because now he's trying to look for equal footing and equal camaraderie, because he's a male, he's trying to attain power, he's trying to show that I'm also on the same level. So now you've got a whole, let's say, last 40, 50 years of music, especially seeing men now abuse their own black women, okay, to get them into a place. Why? Because it's about power. It's about, because if I can subdue you, I'm now a power over you. And so now you have video vixens doing these sexual things in your music videos. It's cool, isn't it? It's blessed, isn't it? It's lovely, isn't it? Right? But you fed a seed, not realizing that the time will come when the woman also now gets power. And this is the problem. And this is why white people don't like black people having power. They're scared. This is the word I'm going to use. Fear. Because, you see, the way you treated them, okay, potentially can come back to you. Now, if I've treated you well, would I care if I gave you power? If I've treated you correctly, this is why I'm talking about seeds now. If I treated you correctly, what do you think I will incur? The Bible says even that that we should sow, right? Whatever you sow, you'll reap, right? And so if I'm sowing kindness, love, mercy, grace into things, why am I fearful that when I give you power, that when you get it, you're going to you're going to reap and sow unto me evil? Why do I think that? Because unless I sowed what? Evil. So the black male now, the reason why I talk so much about black women and they're raunchy and they're sexy is because what he sowed. He sowed negativity. He sowed sexualization. He sowed hypersexualization. He sowed the black woman into slavery of sex. And now she's got power. He's scared that now she's got the gun in her hand. What's she going to do? The same way you use the gun let's say that, I'm just giving an example. Same way you use a gun in somebody's head and say, listen, bow down, do whatever I tell you to do. Now the gun's come out of your hand, the gun's in their hand. You're scared they're going to do the exact same thing that you did to them. That's why there's a lot of talk. Do you understand? Right? And now talking about that also, we're dealing with obviously colorism as well, because when you look at like I said, the music video, the majority of women weren't dark-skinned women, and one of the arguments that people I've seen made as well, and I think it's a valid point to make, is that a lot of reason why black male men were annoyed with the Cardi B, Meg The Stallion is because they weren't your dark-skinned women, and so they're messing up the image of your perfect femininity, feminine woman. They mess up the image of the fact that it's only dark-skinned women that are sexual, and dark-skinned women are raunchy, and dark-skinned women are only good for sex. They're messing up that image, okay? And that's another argument, because you have to understand this as well. Like I said, because of slavery and the way they hypersexualize dark-skinned women, especially because of the dark-skinned women often carried not only the dark skin, the features, like for instance the nose, the lips, the thick body, right? And so that also then came into a play of hypersexualizing a woman, and then the black man takes over. But remember, he's trying to be like the white man. So what does he do? He rejects that the same way the white man rejects it, but still sexualizes her like the white man sexualizes her, but then wants to only date light-skinned women. I'm just giving you an example, right? I'm just giving you some history in this. So now you got Cardi B and Meg The Stallion. Now Meg The Stallion is a black woman. Don't get it twisted. But she's not your dark skin. Now I'm just giving you an example. So there's not your dark skin, right? And so what's happening here is that Meg The Stallion, who's an acceptable brown, and you got Cardi B, who's an exception, is your go-to, and she's not even if you want to call it black, like heritage wise, she's not African black, Caribbean black. She's not of those. I think she's Latino, is it? I would have thought, right? And again, Latinos get a pass because again, they don't meet the stereotype. You see, Latinos get away with being aggressive and sexual because they're Latinos, right? Because they're closer to the spectrum of white. Yeah. Whereas, you know, if you're a black, dark-skinned woman and you're like, if you were doing what Cardi B's doing, oh no, can't run. But we saw a lot of that happen in the 90s because obviously and you saw Little Kim was able to flourish in that because she was able to flourish because she was one of the few rappers as well that was doing it, right? Number two, she was existed in a male society and doing what the males were doing, right? If you can't beat them, you join them, right? So, very rarely do you see a dark-skinned woman doing what other people are able to do. This is where the argument was coming in. And then this is where the Kylie Jenner argument is going to come in. Because the Kylie Jenner argument here is that there was a petition to get her out. And this is two sides to a story where it's muddy waters for everybody. You got black people or black women specifically saying they don't want Kylie Jenner in the video because then, you know, she's perpetuating basically, you know, the brothel master in a sense. It looked like she was perpetrating the brothel master because she came in, she dressed sexily, but she doesn't do anything, and then she leaves. So it's almost like, again, the stamp of approval by the white woman, and also as well the fact that she's not joining in on the actual song, meaning that she actually isn't part of the festivities of what's going on. So she's above them, which is again about power. It's about how white femininity is different from black femininity. This is where I'm really going with it because the femininity is the parameters of femininity. The black femininity is juxtaposed to white femininity. It's how they did it. That's why slavery is important to understand because putting the white woman in the field doesn't happen. You put her in the house. That's femininity, your softness. You know, you are to supplant your husband, you to help your husband and cook for him and nurture him. But the black woman, no, get her in the field. Right? She's hard, aggressive, so that's still femininity. That's a juxtaposed to the white femininity, right? So when you got Kylie Jenner not involved in there's whores in this house, but you see her in the video for a brief second, actually what the argument was said was that actually what it's showing is that the white woman again gets away with it. She can look sexy, but it's not sexualized per se, and actually gets to be the master of this particular thing without going too deep into doing what they were doing, Cardi B and Meg The Stallion. That's an argument that's there. And, you know, and again, for me, I think, and obviously we know that Kylie Jenner was probably adding into it because, again, it's to get more people to be involved. But the difficulty here with Kylie Jenner is this. Kylie Jenner is the perfect bridge. She is the fantasy of a lot of black males who don't date black women. I'm going to be specific. She is a fantasy of black males that don't date black women. Why do I say that? Because the Kardashians market themselves to black folk. Yeah? They culturally appropriate everything they do. And so now, and you see this, the black woman, the dark-skinned woman will get penalized for her physique, her lips, her hair, you know, her nose and everything like that. And her skin tone. She will get penalized for that. Get a white woman who's thick, breasted, bum, lips, does box braids or whatever hairstyle, and she's highly elevated. That should show you the level of what we're talking about here, that not only cultural appropriation, but how black men buy into this idea of white femininity. Yeah, I'm not saying every black man. I want you to understand this. We're talking about a group of black men. So that's another argument that's being had. Another argument that's being said. And there's so many different things that I do want to come to a point, I guess, is that there is a lot of sexualized, a lot of hypersexuality at the moment. So much going on. And I'm not for it, yeah? Because as a Christian, I'm just not for it. I just don't believe it's helpful. I just want people to keep the same energy, though. You know, you're not going to talk about Meg The Stallion and Cardi B, but then don't talk about Juicy J. You don't talk about Plies. You don't talk about, you know, your old school musical classics that you loved when they're talking about sex. The difference here is only that they're explicit and it's only women, not men doing it. So I just want us to keep the same energy. But as a Christian, what I would say is that the Bible lets us know that, listen, the love of this world will wax cold. The system that they're playing in, Cardi B and Megan, okay, has contributed towards the where they are now. What we need is black men to stand up and say, listen, we don't want to see our black queens treated like this. That's what you need. You need a mass consensus of black men saying no. The truth of the matter is, a lot of black men are okay with it because they like the idea of the fantasy and they don't want to change it. But they will complain at the same time because obviously they don't want, like, it's almost like I said about the son and the daughter situation. I don't mind if it's you, but just not me. Like, suddenly men get a conscience and know exactly how women should be treated when they got a daughter. Oh, when it's your mum, it's your sister, when it's your daughter, you understand that men's behavior is bad. But when you were doing playing around, you felt no way. And it's the exact same thing here. So let's keep that same energy. But I really believe that obviously we're seeing an industry that is rewarding women now for hypersexualization, okay, which is building that sexism and building that misogyny and rewarding them and saying, no, you do keep doing what you do, rewarding you. It's still a male system. It's still a way of exploiting women. Even though women are taking charge of their own sexuality and presenting it how they want to present it, there is some aspect of the fact that they've internalized this thought process as being okay, and they're sending it back to us. So there's an aspect of regaining your power, but in the same way, as you regain your power, you're still doing what male, or should I say, I would like to call it even as it is, demonic, this demonic kind of thought process that where you must sell your body. You understand? You must sell your body on. The Bible says that if your body's a temple. I want to just add as well to say, listen, look, what seed are we planting? What seed are we planting? What seed are we planting into the ground? Especially in that music industry. If we're gonna talk about the fact that WAP, music, the women there are doing this kind of music, what seed are the men gonna plant into the ground? What way are you gonna change it? Because your trap music, your drill music, your hip hop music, your R&B music, could say even, at the moment, what seed is it planting? Is it planting respectful seeds? Is it planting seeds of respect for the women? Because until then, the women ain't changing, right? Until then, the women ain't going to see nothing wrong. If you're saying that we are living in a patriarchy, which I agree with, then you have a duty as the leaders of that patriarchy to plant the correct seeds, to plant the correct mindset. Without that, you can't talk, you can't open your mouth, you can't say nothing. So until we start holding these drill songs, these trap songs, these hip-hop songs to the same level we're holding WAP to, yeah, you don't allow 69 to be putting on Gooba and singing songs of Nicki Minaj and everything like that. Until you hold them to the standard. Let me tell you something, my guys. Look, nothing's going to change in that industry. Nothing at all. Hold them to the same standard and you'll start to see changes. Hold to them to the same standard. Start planting the right seeds in people's minds and you'll start to see that change. And I want you to make people just know that, listen, if you're not Christian, you watch my videos, I want to offer you this. I'm not offering you a change of that God is going to make miracles happen and whatever. Well, I'm not going to offer you that because I can't guarantee that. What I can guarantee, if you surrender yourself to Christ, if you give yourself to Christ, I can guarantee you, and you give your heart to Christ, that God will show His love to you. And God will begin to speak to you. And God will begin to transform your mind and transform your heart. We're not trying to do this by ourselves. We can't do this by ourselves. The world is going another direction to where Christ is trying to go. This is why we already know where it's heading to. The Bible says it's going to return to the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. What are those days? Those days where people would freely do whatever they felt like sexually. They would rape people even if they didn't want to. Like, bruv, there was so much madness in Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why God said their heart and their minds are seared, as Romans 1 says. So I wanted to offer this and say, listen, look, that, I understand the generation that we're in. I understand that the season that we're in. And so I want to offer this and say, listen, look, I want the world is going where it's going. It's going to get progressively worse. What I want you to understand is that God is, God is at the forefront, and He wants to be able to speak into your life and love you the way that you need to be loved. Yeah. And so, yeah, I just want to pray that, listen, you guys will come to the saving grace of Jesus Christ, and we'll talk about some more things coming up in the next few weeks. Guys, shoosh, I hope you guys like what we did. We'll try to cover as much as we could. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell button for notification of the uploads, baby, and we appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. More love.